again on Wednesday. Sporting Kansas City badly needed a win. They didn't play well in their game at Colorado the other night, but they get a great win. They got a couple of goals from Willie Agata in the first 23 minutes on Sunday. But this isn't a team that ever just cruises, so they gave up a goal before halftime. They gave up another one early in the second half, and I'll tell you what, for all the world, it looked like Dallas would be the team that might get the third goal. They looked the more dangerous team, although statistically Sporting Kansas City had the edge, but then a really excellent play by Memo Rodriguez to pick up a secondary ball and hammer it home in the 82nd minute. Sporting hung on and grabbed the victory, and they need that victory, and they need a few more. Of course, they'll be in U.S. Open Cup competition against Dallas on Wednesday. That should be an interesting game because Dallas has some great young talent, some good veterans. They look pretty good in the game. So I guess if you think the opponent looked pretty good and Sporting won, then that should indicate that they played quite well. So there you go. Sporting a 3-2 winner. Not the same for the Kansas City Current. All good things must come to an end. They were upwards of 20 games into the season, and they hadn't lost a game. Well, they did to Orlando on a late goal. There was some really big-time celebration for Orlando in this game as both teams were undefeated coming in. Didn't necessarily sit well with the Current, but they're just fine. They score a lot of goals. This is their first loss of the year. Now they have some motivation when these two teams play again. They are the two teams that are likely to finish 1-2 in the league. Does that mean they're going to make the final? Well, doesn't guarantee it, but that final will be at the Kansas City Currents Park, the only soccer-specific stadium just for a women's team in the world. And they will hold the NWSL championship game later this season, and boy, it would be nice to see the old teal uniforms on display in that final. But Saturday, a sad day, I guess, if you just say that one loss is a sad day as the Currents' great streak comes to an end. Well, to say that I've been diving into the European Championships in soccer is a considerable understatement. I've watched as many games as I could. They have a great highlight show. If you miss any of the games, I've watched the 90 minutes of many games. It's been filled with penalty shootouts and dramatic late goals and fantastic fans. I mean, the fans have been so crazy and have given us an idea, if we didn't already have it, of what it will be like when the World Cup comes to Kansas City. Now, these nations, there are 9 nations that border Germany, which is the site of this particular competition, and 8 of those nations were in the European Championships, so that you could just drive across the border and watch your team play. But even fans from places like Turkey have made the trip, and the fans have maybe been one of the highlights of the whole competition. But the competition now itself is down to Spain versus France on Tuesday and England versus the Netherlands on Wednesday. And Spain has easily been the team that has looked the best of these 4 so far. They've been dominant. They've scored more goals. They've looked great on defense. Now, they haven't had that many dramatic results. All those things have been the case. They'd have to be tabbed the favorite going into the Final Four. But France has given up no goals during the run of play. They've had trouble scoring them. They are actually in the semifinals, and they have not scored a goal themselves in the run of play, and they advanced on penalties. England has needed a bicycle kick equalizer late in one game and then a penalty shootout win in another to advance. And they will take on the Netherlands, who had to rally from a 1-0 deficit after 75 minutes in their game. So there have been dramatics everywhere. It's been cool. And if you're any kind of a soccer fan, or some of us, we got the Olympics coming up, and people who don't watch any of those sports ever watch the Olympics because of the thrill of national competition. Well, that's been all on display in this particular competition, as well as Copa America. I'd like to say I've watched as much of that. No way. I mean, you have to pick and choose. And the United States, I watched their games, obviously, and they bowed out to Uruguay, which is one of the final 4 teams in the competition. Argentina, Colombia, Uruguay, and probably a little galling to U.S. national team fans, Canada, with Jesse Marsh as their coach. And so they're the final 4 for Copa America. It's been staged in this country. It's been a success as far as fan showing up and a good run through for North America as far as the World Cup is concerned. Lots of that on the docket as well. Well, one other note, we've seen sort of the last gasp of the Golden State Warriors dynasty as they no longer have Draymond Green. They no longer have Klay Thompson. It's pretty much down to Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. It's kind of an end of an era there, and that's kind of a note that happened over the weekend as well. That group kind of changed the way that professional basketball was played, and when you're in a position where a trendsetter like that, that is a pretty cool thing, but kind of an end of the era in the NBA. That'll be an end of an era for this particular show. Our thanks to David Lesky from Inside the Crown. We talked a lot of baseball, some soccer as well, and we've got some big-time golf tournaments coming up. The Scottish Open is this week, followed by the Open Championship. Lots of cool things, and then we'll be getting into Chiefs camp and the Olympics. There's always something going on. That's why we have fun here on Mondays and a lot of other days, too. Got our profiles, got our Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, all kinds of good stuff. Had some technical issues we were dealing on through the weekend for my website, but it is up and running perfectly, and you can also catch the podcasts at multiple locations, and you know where theirs are if you're listening right now, but always easy access at DannyClinkscale.com. And it's time on a Monday to say goodbye, and I'll talk to you real soon.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, with 8 convenient locations in the Kansas City metro. Dr. Brad Woodall and his friendly team will improve your health and outlook with every visit. Find out more at asfca.com/Danny.